Welcome to the Branded Impact Podcast. On this show, we go beyond surface level branding, honest conversations with industry leaders, behind the scenes of aligned brand building, and actionable insights to help you elevate your presence. I'm your host, Jo Espejo, aka Jo. Hit subscribe and join me each week for the Branded Impact Podcast. What if your intuition was the most powerful business strategy that you've been ignoring? In this episode, I am so excited to be joined by Brittany Carmichael, psychic medium, transformational coach, luxury retreat host, and spiritual mentor who helps visionary women build spiritually aligned businesses feel good. Brittany, thank you so much for joining me. Can you start by sharing what inspired you to create The World by Britt?
Oh my gosh. Well, welcome to the world by Britt. It originally started as BrittanyHatesYou@gmail.com when I was angry and 19 and didn't really have any self-love. Over the years of learning to love myself, learning to accept my uniqueness, I transformed my email to the world by Britt@gmail.com. I had so many passions, from hair to art to reading tarot cards and all the things that I was like, well, I don't want to be put in one box. So my account is just going to be the world by Britt, and it's going to be my thoughts, my perspective, my inspiration, my ideas, my life. I'm going to share the insides of my life and the world that I'm living. I wanted to show people there's just a different way of doing life, of seeing the world, of appreciating beauty and color. That's how the world by Britt was born.
A shift from Brittany Hates You. I would love to have seen people's faces when you gave them that email address. It's interesting because you have really leaned into owning where you are in your life. You had no problem with this is my email because I'm angry at the world right now. When that shifted, now World by Britt, and that stuck. We were just talking about before we came on how you can be many things. It's the and life. It doesn't have to be just one bucket. She truly has a world of different options to work with her.
I know. I also don't have children. So let me just start the conversation with that. Like, how did you do it all? I didn't have kids. I started 20 plus years ago. It's been like one brick at a time. 20 years behind the chair of my luxury vegan salon called OMG Hairstyles in the heart of Frisco, Texas, with a lot of money and wealth and religion and politics and sports and all the things I wasn't into. So naturally, I stood out like a very bright pink, sparkly star. That gave me the platform because I decided to start my own business as a hairstylist to discover who I was, who my authentic self was through my first career as a hairdresser. For 20 years, I sat and listened to how women think and feel. What I learned as a stylist is that it's not pretty. I was making them look beautiful on the outside, but they didn't feel good on the inside. We can create these beautiful lives and the perfect Instagram, but are you enjoying it? Are you happy? Are you lit up? If you're not, then we need to recognize that we have that control to shift it. 20 years behind the chair of my hair salon really put me in a position to hold space for women. That space was so much deeper than surface level conversations, things that they don't even tell their therapist. Well, I was being handed while I'm supposed to be painting your hair. You're handing me the biggest traumas and transformations of your life. That naturally pushed me into learning how to hold space and to coach and to be there for my clients because I'm seeing them every 6 weeks, every 3 weeks if they're crazy about their grace. You have to learn how to build that relationship. And I walked through their grief or their growth or their marriage or their separation or that promotion. I've been able to witness every side of a woman. So we'll just girl power. Okay. From the beginning, I knew who I was. I knew the lane I wanted to walk into. And I've always beat to my own drum. I want to live a life that I'm passionate about. I love to make things beautiful and just create a whole experience. It was just kind of like a combination of holding space for women for so long, paired with my own personal spiritual growth journey, a near-death experience, my mom having a paralyzing stroke when she was 47 and learning how to hold space for that type of healing. How did I become a psychic? Trauma, period, many lifetimes of learning, and a discipline and desire to develop it. We all have this gift. We all are intuitive, and it's always communicating to us. We're never taught the language of our soul. That is why I'm so passionate about stepping out from behind the chair to empower more women to step into their purpose, to connect with their soul, to trust that intuitive nudge, because we all have visions, we all have dreams, and they're meant to be realized, but we just haven't been given the tools or even the permission that is possible. So that's kind of how a near-death experience plus mushrooms plus my mom having a stroke is kind of how I tapped into my psychic abilities.
I love the fact, and the one thing that keeps coming up is that you have the courage and whether the permission or whatnot to stay in your own lane and to do that in a world too where you're going against the grain. Then you pushed against the grain. And then here you are with beautiful pink hair. This is where you have created a world where not only were you creating a space for other women, you created a space for yourself. Talk to me a little bit about branding. There is a difference in how you branded and one, just being able to be authentic to who you were.
I started my own, but my first business card, literally black, hot pink writing, and it said, "Life's too short to look like shit." When I handed that to you, if it offended you, then I knew you were not the right client for me because that's my style. That's my energy. I'm blunt and I'm truthful, but I'm also very loving. It's an interesting combination, and some people love it and some people don't. I think in the very beginning, I knew that there was a lane that I wanted to operate in. And the more authentic I stayed to myself. And at the time when I was 20 years old, I had rainbow hair. That would attract rainbow headed clients. And as I grew and as I changed and evolved throughout the years of my own business as a hairstylist, I noticed that the clients that I were attracting changed as I started sharing more of my psychic abilities behind the chair after my near-death experience in 2012. I started attracting a lot more clients that would come and ask for a reading or a message or something very significant. I noticed that as I evolved within my own brand, and OMG Hairstyles, it's still a personal brand because it's me. Although it's not my name, it is me. We were really good about staying true to who we wanted to serve because of who I was as a person. When it comes to your personal brand, you have to recognize that who you are is what's going to attract into your world. It's why anyone who goes into the coaching business or any type of help business, you probably became a photographer because you wanted to help empower women to look or feel good or know that they're perfectly beautiful with or without makeup. I think there's always something that we had to grow through that ends up being how we show up and serve. All the clients that were coming into my salon ended up being clients that needed the spiritual growth and the healing transformation and the self-care tools that I was learning in my own personal journey of like how not to die or how not to hate yourself or how to deal with all this anger and unforgiveness from past inner child wounds. As I was learning these skills and these tools and offering them for free to new moms or women that had just retired but didn't know the direction they wanted to go in life, I just started sharing all of this magic that I was learning. My clients were seeing those shifts behind the chair and started asking me, "What are you doing? Like, why are you so nice? Like, isn't it exhausting to be happy all the time?" That's when I knew I'm on to something because I was exhausted being angry, which is why I finally hit that rock bottom and decided to make a change. So I never intended to be Brittany Carmichael, the brand. I literally signed up to do hair to serve women in that capacity. And over the years of my own transformation, which I always say, if you go into business for yourself, it's going to be a direct mirror to your personal growth and to where you're at and your self-worth and your confidence. So as I grew in my confidence and my self-worth and my willingness to want to serve from an open heart, like truly give, I started attracting opportunities that I wouldn't have even asked for, ending up with a set of tarot cards and being told I have the gift and I should start practicing. Just random things that would show up in my life that I was curious or courageous enough to go. Over the years, I started developing more of my psychic abilities and learning self-care tools and sharing them. That's how the Brittany Carmichael brand was built. It was by serving the people that were sitting in front of me, literally in the chair, that attracted more opportunities. I never even sought to be this like personal brand. It was just show up and serve from an open heart, and the opportunities will attract you naturally. All those lessons that I was repeating myself for so many years behind the chair turned into Shine School, and Shine School turned into the Shine from the Inside Oracle deck. So not only is it making a massive impact, it's also a damn good marketing piece if we're talking business, you know what I mean? All of this, the retreats, everything has evolved based on my own personal growth and the people in front of me asking, "How did you do that?" I just am willing to share. I make it simple too and fun and entertaining.
I joke about my own journey because that's been something similar. It's like I fell into doing this and then I've pivoted or I've added on services. And so what started out as photography, and I started out weddings because a friend asked me to take a picture of her brother's wedding. I'm like, I'm not a photographer. But she's like, "Well, you're really good and you're better than me." And I laughed. I was like, "Okay." And I booked 2 weddings. And then eventually I decided to go out on my own and do photography. It wasn't aligning. It's not that I didn't love taking pictures of my moms. I was like, I did this so that I can be more present for my kids. Now I'm working when my kids are home and needing to be shuffled around. It took requests, like several. And so I joke and I'm like, I get nudges. I say it's God for me will give me like slaps where it's like, "Hey, I've been nudging and you've been ignoring. Do you do headshots? Do you do headshots?" Oh, wait, maybe I could. And it was photography. And as the world started spinning and I'm listening to my clients saying, "I'm done with pictures. Now I'm going to go do video," or "I need to do video. Do you know of anybody?" I'm like, I can help with that. And out of that heart of service, as I listen to my clients and the better I get at things, the more I get into business, the more I do all this stuff. It's like, I can help and I can serve. Here's the key. You have to be open to it. That's what you said you do. So you're open. Somebody has a conversation and they say something. You're not like, "I'm staying in my hairdresser lane because that's what I said I wanted to do. This is a business that I've created."
Let me stop you right there. One day my husband comes in, I'm getting ready for the salon. I'm putting on my makeup and he goes, babe, I just had a vision of you. I was like, really? What was it? He goes, I see you on stage, like speaking to women and empowering them. Literally, Joe, I yelled at him. I was like, no, don't talk to me like that. I do hair and that's what I do. When I was sitting on stage with Martha Stewart one time at Hair Love in Zion National Park with the freaking park as the backdrop, I'm holding the mic. I'm like, hundreds of women are in front of me. I'm like, oh, this is that moment he was talking about. I denied my own mission and my own purpose when someone else saw it for me. And that's normal. That's natural. In fact, it's probably the thing you're denying the most. Although I have always followed my intuition and stayed in like a lane that is I'm passionate about, there have been many times where people have said, what if you did that? Or I see you on stage. I literally rejected it. I think that's a really important piece that we all go through that. I just want to stop you right there to let you
No,
know,
I'm
like,
glad you
no,
did.
I definitely struggled in accepting my role.
It's the beauty of getting to do your own thing and brand your own business. And it's being able to pivot. You nailed it earlier where you're like, my brand has evolved as I have evolved as a person. I say a lot of times with branding, you're not married to it. Don't get it like tattooed on your hand because you could change your logo in a week or a month, or it could be 5 years from now, but you don't know. It's being open and willing to accept the fact that you could pivot. And what worked really well for you in a season of life may not work so well in a line anymore. For me, the beauty of getting to own your own thing is that you should be able to do something that lights you up and that you're passionate about. If you get to the point where you're finding it no longer does, then you probably missed the signs somewhere along the way that it was time for you to pivot. And now it's just finally leaning into there's a time for a change. It's scary. It's hard because especially if you've built something successful, and this is where I get a lot of pushback from people. I've already done this thing and I'm really good at it and I'm really successful. And then now you're wanting or encouraging or being nudged to pivot. What actually got you to get on a stage? Your husband had the vision and you were like, absolutely not. That is not for me. Then now here we are years later and you've been on massive stages. And this is something that you're actually passionate about now. Now you've even created your own space because to me, when you create luxury retreats and you bring something that you can bring people to, that is a stage. You are bringing people to you in a place. How did you find yourself in that change and then embracing the new direction?
It's an identity shift. It's like a freaking ego change. I think that's why so many people resist it. Just thinking back to like losing my Instagram of almost 30,000 followers, that was an ego shift. That was an identity shift of like, I have this something. I have this career that makes me 6 figures, 7 figures. I have this Instagram following that I've built up and I've been so successful. All of that can be taken away without anything. Who are you without the accolades? Who are you without the Instagram? Who are you without the followers, the email list, or the money in the bank? I think identity shift is a huge part of this conversation. Our confidence and our self-worth are tied into that. I see this happen all the time when I coach clients. They're like, I'm starting over. No, babe, you're starting with 20 years of business knowledge, boundaries, and a clear vision of what you want. That is not starting over. That is starting with tools that we did not have when we were 20s. I think for me, how did I shift? I did a lot of hypnosis work. I listened to audios every single night. I worked on my confidence, on success, on being able to hold success because so many people have a fear of failure and a fear of success. We're just going to live in the middle. Where are we at? Like pick one and stick with it so we can fix it. I did a lot of inner mindset work. I had to visualize myself differently. I always say you're only as strong as the story you tell yourself. The story that I told myself was that I'm fat, I'm a bitch, and I'm a whore. Those were labels I picked up from 7th grade, from high school, from a mean guy. I carried those my whole life, even into my marriage. What I realized is that those labels that I unconsciously were carrying or bringing into the room were actually the limit or the block that allowed me to be open to receive. I can only open to receive to this level because I've said, this is where I feel safe. For me, it was about spreading my comfort zone, expanding my vision to see myself as a lot of it is about the labels that you hold and the actual mental image. If I were to ask you like, hey, close your eyes and just pretend you have a mirror in front of you and like look at yourself, like what mental image pops up? We have to recognize that the story we tell ourselves, the labels that we hold, and the mental image that we even project about ourselves is truly the limit or the block that we allow.
This is a conversation I've had with a couple of different people in the same space, maybe not necessarily psychic mediums, but people who've worked in the subconscious work. If you are able to clear some of these things that are holding you back, you can do all the things. You can check all the boxes. I remember being in my first mastermind and I had a lady tell me, and I remember being super pissed off at her because she was like, you know that you're not as successful as you want to be because of yourself. I was like, excuse me? I'm doing all the things. I'm showing up. I'm doing the marketing. I'm putting in the work. I'm doing everything that they're saying that you have to do to be successful in business, I'm doing all the things. She's like, great, you're standing in your own way. I remember being like uber pissed off about it. I started to work on my mindset and I started to shift how I thought about things, the things I was actually saying and what I'm putting out into the world and the energy. And all of a sudden I had my first 10K month. And I remember thinking like, this is really too woo-woo. Like, come on now. I'm a hard work. Like you do the work, you do the things, you follow the steps, and that's where success falls in. No, ladies, it is a combination. You can't just have the mindset either. All right. Like I'm not that woo-woo to believe like you could just sit there and be like, I just desire all of this and it's going to happen. It has to be a combination of the mindset, being open to receive and then doing the work and showing up. The key here, and it keeps coming up, and I think almost every single one of my episodes is authenticity. The key to being successful is that you have to stay true to who you are, because that is trying to be an imposter and trying to act like somebody else. It's only going to get you so far because you don't actually truly believe it. Those are some keys. So somebody that's been listening and they haven't really ever leaned into the psychic work or hypnosis, some of this stuff, like what are your recommendations?
It's such a tough one because there's so many roads that lead to Rome. So maybe crystals is something that you don't think is like terrible, but tarot is, or maybe it's sound bowl healing or tuning forks that is science, but it's healing you and you can't explain it. I think when it comes to dabbling into the intuitive woo-woo world, the most beautiful representation of 78 different personalities and experiences that our soul can go through in this human experience, as Carl Jung talks about the different archetypes that we go through. That's why when you pull a card and I bring up what is this archetype or emotion that's connected to it, we experience all these things. People have painted us to be us as in magical women, to be this horrible thing, but it's because it's keeping you from your health. It's keeping you from your truth. It's keeping you from God. It's keeping you from all the things that they make these obstacles to get to. If you're new to the woo, I find what resonates, because you can't, if I were to push you into the deep end and you're not ready for it, you'd be like, reject. I grew up very religious, so I always find it so interesting to be in this position and to have the courage to put that label on myself as a psychic medium. My husband asks me all the time, are you sure you want to be known as that? I'm like, it's just something so special and a gift of hope that I can't not. If you're new to the woo, buy my Shine from the Inside Oracle cards. They're beautiful. They're sparkly. We did a good job to like bridge the gap to like not make it scary, but still make it powerful enough. For me, a pendulum was how I got started. It's what I loved about doing hair is that I had all walks of life from all over the globe, and I got to learn so many different cultures and ways of life and perspective, which is why I have such a deep breadth, like width of tools to be able to access. This lady walked in and she said, I'm Buddhist. I don't really know what that means. And she brought out a pendulum. She started talking about the zodiac. I'm like, what is this lady all about? She asked me one day, do you want to try this pendulum? And I was like, sure, why not? Open. Always stay open. I'm holding this pendulum. Is like not really moving. I look at her. I'm like, is this going to work? And she's like asking the pendulum, will you work for Brittany? It starts moving. I'm like, is her elbow moving? She's moving that thing. I don't believe it. I get the pendulum back in my hand and I pause. I shouldn't ask it anything I don't really want to know, right? She's like, absolutely not. I was like, okay, are Chris and I going to be together forever? I kid you not. That thing started spinning like a helicopter. It was like flying in my hand. I dropped it and cried. I just remember being so shook by that experience. I know I didn't move that pendulum. That was a moment for me where I had an intuitive experience that my logic couldn't explain. When I was in my near-death experience, I wouldn't call myself religious at the time or spiritual. I was just neutral, trying to understand. The first thing I did was start praying. I know you're there and I know you can hear me. That was the moment where my whole life changed, where I made a dedication. I said to God, if you get me off this mountain, I promise I will listen to my intuition and follow through, because you were telling me to turn around this whole time and I ignored it. GPS says to keep going. I made a promise that I would follow my internal GPS, because that's God's way of saying like, hey girl, you're headed in the wrong direction. Yeah. And we ignore it and we ignore it, sign after sign. The body's bleeding, the body's overweight, the body's in inflammation, and we ignore it and we ignore it. And that's how my mom had a stroke. For me, if you're getting into the woo, I think find what presents itself to you. Ask your spirit guides, ask God, ask the angel, whatever you want to talk to be open. We've all shut it down. We all came on to the earth with an open channel, but fear and danger and a lack of knowledge and tools of our parents educating us have caused us to shut down this connection and this gift. I think the first step is ask. Ask and you shall receive. You have to be open and willing to receive the signs and synchronicities and find what resonates with you. If you're not into cards, like, you should still get my cards because they're beautiful and amazing and I love you. There's so many different roads that lead you back home to your soul, to your higher self. It's about staying authentic to what is true for you. There's like no right or wrong way. It's just a willingness to be open.
Willingness to be open and finding something that resonates with you. It piques your curiosity and you're willing to go in that direction. How are you impacting, as a better word than controlling, your branding? What are some of the key things that you feel like you look back on and you're like, this has been a game changer and this is how I'm able to keep myself branded and my brand evolving without losing track of who I am?
Doing the work myself. I mean, of course, I have teams and I've had big teams and I'm down to a very small team. What I've learned in the massive growth that we've had and expanding the team is that my authenticity got watered down through a bigger team. Even though we have brand color palettes and all the assets, and I still felt like my voice was missing, or even just the way that I would put images together. For me, branding is really about being in control of what you're putting into the world and not just relying on other people because this is how the marketing should be done, or these reels are doing better for engagement. It's always just been what feels good for me on how I want to show up within my branding. If someone says like the TikTok dances are the new thing, I never did one dance. You'll never catch me do a dance. You know what I mean? That's just like not true to my authenticity. I would never do that, even though it's a hot trend. Not following the trends, actually being the trendsetter, doing what feels right for me, expressing my truth in a way that just aligns with what feels good. I've been in the beauty industry and I've owned a photography company. I've built websites. Girl, I was coding my MySpace to look good with the music in the background and the sprinkles coming from the top. I just have a really wide depth of tools to be able to show up in business. It's been about just building it myself, learning how to do every single part, to build the funnels, to write the copy, to figure out how to make a reel. Like, I've learned every single piece of my business and then delegated it with clear SOPs and all the boundaries. I think it's like about learning your business and how you want to show up, knowing it through and through all the way, and then finding where is your zone of genius and what can you delegate while having some type of boundary or protocol of like, this is the realm in which we work, and always being the last person to approve it. When it gets down to it, is just you being the one that touches it and creates from a place of your heart and inspiration, and not just because we have to post. That's where a lot of the authenticity gets muddied.
Not all of us can be in that creative world where we do all the things. The key here, though, is really leaning into what are you comfortable and what stays authentic. I want to create content that when I do it, I feel like it's me. I can look at it and not cringe. I actually just had a conversation with a client the other day, and she's working with somebody and they were recommending that she go in a direction. And she's like, I'm just going to do it because that's what they said to do. I paid them a lot of money. I said, as your brand amplifier and brand partner, I'm going to encourage you to push back. If you're willing to do that because it feels aligned, and when you hear it and you're like, yes, like I can lean in and that feels like my next level, sure. But if you're just doing it because you paid someone a lot of money and then you are feeling like to your core that it doesn't align and it doesn't feel good, then don't. That's not the answer. They said that's what would work, because that never works. I did it again over the summer. This goes against every bone in my body, but you're the experts. Let's try it. It never works. Never. Ever.
I agree. I've hired the Hay House marketing team for all the authors, and we did on my 3-part video series with the sales letter and the this and the that, and we did the ads. They made more money than I did. I went and just like randomly threw together a 5-day self-care challenge because like I wanted the accountability. It was low key, low budget, no team, no nothing. I had so many people sign up for it. And I'm like, like it is energetic alignment. So yes, it's action and energy. That's the masculine and feminine of business energetics, since they can bring you those masculine structures. But if your feminine energy doesn't flow within it and feel good, you are going to fall flat. You can copy everyone's masculine structure, but if your feminine energy ain't flowing and feeling good, it will fall flat every time. I've seen it not only in my own business, but in clients when they're just doing it because we're supposed to, and not because it feels good.
So please listen and learn from Brittany and I, because we have both tried doing it the other way. And I can promise you it falls flat every single time. I look back and I'm like, I knew better. I should have just trusted my gut and should have just gone with the fact that like, but then I'm also like, but did I sabotage it because I wasn't aligned and I didn't want it to work? You can take that with your whichever direction you want to go in. One, I do firmly believe in authenticity. I do believe that if you're going to be successful, you have to believe it's going to work. It has to align. If it goes against everything that you're doing and everything that you are, just like Brittany, I swear, if you were to come tell me right now, like I would make $1 million if I dyed my hair pink, I'd be like, well, I guess I'm not going to be a millionaire today because that is just not going to be me. For you, that is complete alignment. Like like that is fully embodied to who you are. This is where just because it works for Brittany doesn't mean that if you go and do the exact same things, it'll work for you if it's not in alignment. Now, if you are someone out there that's like, I have been dying to dye my hair pink because my inner child has always wanted,
Do it.
then do it, because that's what's been calling. If you're holding back because you shouldn't, or somebody is saying different, the key to all of this is authenticity and to really leaning in to who you are and who you're meant to be. I like to say this too. Someone out there is waiting for you to have the courage to show up because you have a gift. If something has been put on your heart, someone out there is waiting, whether it's because it's in that hairstylist to client open space, whatever it is that you want to do, it's creating a space for whatever's been put on your heart. If you're anything like me, sometimes you get nudged, sometimes you get kicked. Sometimes, I guess Brittany had to have a near-death experience to get woken up into some of her stuff. There are signs and there are nudges. You just have to be open and willing to receive. It's just a nice reminder that a lot of us like to ignore. We just get caught up in the shoulds. Like, that's not how life should be.
It's not just enough at this point to hear and be open to receive your intuition. We have to act on it. We have to have the courage to act. That's why we came here, is to share this beautiful gift that we have, to give of our talents and our skills, and to make life a little bit more sparklier and easier for the next person that walks beside us. To wrap up, I just wanted to share the 2 cards that I pulled from my deck because they align so much with the message that we talked about, which is so funny. Awaken your authentic self, be true to you, and be bold, don't be afraid to stand out. I feel like these cards are the embodiment of personal branding. You have to have the courage to be bold and shine your light. Sometimes being bold can just be being kind in the grocery store. Sometimes being bold could just be decided to buy the domain, even if you don't do anything with it. Sometimes bold moves can be done in silence or behind closed doors that can make massive ripple effects that you don't need to put out into the world. They will show themselves in time. So when I think of the be bold, don't be afraid to stand out, it reminds me of my entire journey, because the very first blog I ever wrote, when you asked me, how did you transition out from the hair and into this space? I kept telling all my other friends, you should start a blog. Like, you're so crafty. You should start a blog. Nobody would do it. I'm like, why are you all not starting blogs? Oh, they're the new hot thing. It's like 2012. Come on, people, get a blog. Finally, none of my friends would get a damn blog. I was like, I'm going to start one. What do I call it? I guess BrittanyCarmichael.com. What do I even talk about? I've rewritten my About Me bio 1,700 times. That's also a part of the process. I just want to share this to wrap up. The very first blog I ever wrote for BrittanyCarmichael.com was called Just Put the Damn Lipstick On. That's exactly what this card represents. She's wearing that yellow lipstick. She's being bold. And it was, don't be afraid to just share your message, to put yourself out there, to share your truth or your skills. I was so afraid to put lipstick on. I was so uncomfortable and so self-conscious about even putting any lipstick on that one day I just gave myself a pep talk and I said, just put the damn lipstick on. You know you love those colors, like just do it. This card and this story is a reflection of like where I was when I started my business. I was scared. I knew I had a message to share, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if anyone would accept it or if it would make a positive impact. I just felt that nudge and felt that calling, and that be bold, don't be afraid to stand out is your calling. That is your sign, your permission slip to share what's on your heart, to serve others, and to give of your talents to the world, because you came here for a reason. We need you. And the more you can stay true to your authentic self, I think the more magic you'll create, and it gets easier and more fun. So enjoy the ride.
I love that. If you've been waiting for a permission slip or a sign, this is it. So if you've been listening and you want to learn more about Brittany, where can they find you?
Go check out the website, BrittanyCarmichael.com. Then if you'd love to chat, slide into my DMs at The World by Britt. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaway or trigger or aha moment that you had during this conversation, because in making these connections that we can really build our network of women to make a positive impact. That's why you're here doing the work that you're doing. I've seen you work. I got to watch you work, which is why I like, Jo, we need to be friends. I like the way you empower women. That's why we're here. We're here to lift each other up and have fun doing it. The more we can connect and the more we can show that you're not alone, that you actually have a sisterhood that wants to cheer you on and not compete or beat you up. That is the most powerful thing and move we can do to make a positive impact in our community, is actually connect.
I love that. Connection. That's the piece. Like finding the circle of women. There's so many if you start looking and uncovering and just asking the questions that are willing to lift as we climb. So this is your sign. Go out there, be boldly you. And as always, continue to make your branded impact. That's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Branded Branded Impact Podcast. If today's episode sparked something in you, please take a second to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who's ready to unlock their rebrand era. And if you're ready for a brand that's rooted in authenticity and built for impact, one that truly reflects your story, your energy, and your evolution, let's connect. Head to brandingbyjo.com or DM me on Instagram at brandingbyjo. Thanks for hanging out. Now get out there, show up with purpose, and make your branded impact. I'll see you next week.